They told me to not waste my energy on them, but I'm done being silent.
Everybody want to change the narrative for LeBron because they don't want to say that this guy is narcissistic as shit.
It's been one of the craziest weeks the NBA has ever seen, and it all kicked off right here. People kept saying, don't waste your energy on him. Just ignore the noise, but that time is officially over. LeBron James finally snapped back at Kwame Brown after years of nonstop jabs, slick comments, and side shots that just wouldn't stop. And nah, this wasn't some light response either. This time, Kwame pushed it way past the line. He didn't just talk about LeBron, he dragged legends into it, bringing up Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, and even trying to question LeBron's legacy. That's when LeBron came in heated and tore the whole thing apart. No hesitation, no soft touches.
And now that I got my computer, LeBron James should not be mentioned in the same sentence as Kobe Bryant or Michael Jordan.
LeBron didn't just respond, he broke everything down. We're talking about exposing Kwame's long history of poking at him, the constant trolling, and those recent comments where Kwame tried to play gatekeeper with MJ and Kobe's names. And trust me, LeBron didn't sugarcoat a thing when he addressed it. If you think that was the end of it, think again. LeBron didn't stop at the comments, he went straight for Kwame's basketball resume and put the whole career under a bright light.
We got high school players better than Bronny. Absolutely got high school players better than Bronny. Bronny was never the best high school player on his team. He was never the best college player on his team.
The wildest part is that LeBron had ignored this man for years, like full on, you don't even exist to me. Levels of silence. Kwame would drop video after video, talk after talk, throwing insults left and right, and LeBron stayed locked in, winning games and stacking stats like nothing was happening. But this time was different. You could hear it in LeBron's tone. The patience was gone, and the message was clear. He was fed up and done letting it slide. And honestly, it adds up. Kwame has been aiming at LeBron for years like it's a personal routine, almost a strange obsession at this point. But this time, he crossed a line LeBron wasn't about to ignore. Kwame claimed LeBron didn't belong in the same conversation as Kobe Bryant or Michael Jordan, and that hit a nerve. For LeBron, that wasn't just talk. This is a guy who spent his entire career chasing greatness, shaping seasons, playoff runs, and narratives around being recognized as the greatest ever. Hearing that kind of dismissal, especially coming from Kwame Brown, wasn't just disrespectful, it was a direct shot at everything LeBron built.
With the first pick in the 2001 NBA draft, the Washington Wizards select Kwame Brown from Lynn Academy, Brunswick, Georgia.
And just when it couldn't get more personal, Kwame tried to pull LeBron's family into the discussion, mentioning his son in a way that crossed boundaries. That's when it stopped being basketball talk and turned into something way more serious, making it clear why LeBron finally chose to respond with full force. LeBron might let people talk crazy about him all day, but the moment someone starts pulling his kids into a rant just to chase views, that's playing with fire. Between the Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan talk and those comments about his family, LeBron finally hit his limit, and you could feel it. That wasn't just frustration, that was built-up anger finally boiling over. And let's keep it real, the wildest part of this whole situation is who it's coming from. This isn't some NBA legend talking spicy, this is someone whose own playing career doesn't exactly scream authority in this type of debate. That context matters, and LeBron clearly felt that too. Before Kwame Brown became the NBA's loudest online commentator, he was supposed to be the future of a franchise, not just any team either.
Well, obviously, you can see he's a well-educated kid. Now, we entertain a lot of possibilities, but none could change our minds in terms of what this kid could do in the long range for the Washington Wizards.
Back in 2001, Kwame entered the league as the first high school player ever taken with the #1 overall pick, straight from Glenn Academy in Brunswick, Georgia, landing with the Washington Wizards like a chosen one. The hype wasn't regular hype, it was historic hype. Scouts, reporters, and executives were all saying the same thing. This kid was supposed to change how people viewed young big men forever. At just 19, Kwame was being talked about like the next dominant force ready to take over the league. And here's the part that still blows people's minds. Michael Jordan himself believed in Kwame and showed it publicly. Yes, that Michael Jordan, the same MJ whose approval is rarer than courtside seats at the finals and who demanded perfection from everyone around him. Jordan looked at a teenage Kwame and said, "That's the franchise piece. That's the one I can mold." When MJ puts that kind of trust in you, that's like being handed a golden pass in the NBA world. Players dream about that kind of backing their whole careers. Kwame didn't just get support, he got it served on a platinum plate when Jordan came back during the 2001 to 2002 season with the Wizards. Expectations exploded overnight. People thought MJ mentoring him would turn Kwame into a monster on the court. But instead of becoming the start of something legendary, it turned into one of the toughest development stories the league has ever seen. The pressure was heavy, the spotlight was unforgiving, and things didn't go the way anyone expected, setting the stage for everything that followed.
Nobody fears him in that way. Nobody wakes up and worry about LeBron James. LeBron James should not be mentioned.
From the very first moment Kwame stepped onto an NBA floor, things started going left fast. He wasn't physically ready for grown man basketball. The strength wasn't there to battle in the paint, the confidence wasn't there to handle constant pressure, and mentally, the weight of being the first high school player ever picked #1 was heavy. On top of that, he was being coached by one of the most demanding competitors the game has ever seen. That's not an easy situation for anyone, especially a teenager trying to figure things out under the brightest spotlight possible. By the end of his rookie season, the numbers told a rough story. Kwame averaged just 4.5 points and 3.5 rebounds, and that wasn't even close to what people expected from a #1 pick. The hype was loud and the results didn't match, so the noise got even louder. Year 2 was supposed to be the comeback season. To be fair, Kwame did improve, putting up 10.9 points and 7.4 rebounds during the 2003 to 2004 season. For a moment, it looked like he might be turning the corner and finding his footing. But then injuries hit, the Wizards decided to move on, and in 2005, he was shipped off to the Lakers. And let's be honest, Lakers fans are not known for patience. This is the same fan base that had just watched Shaq dominate the league, so expectations went through the roof all over again. Instead of a fresh start, things got worse. Kwame slowly became a punchline.
Right now, he got a lot of eyes watching him, so of course, he's not going to come out there to try to shoot the ball all the time. But it still looked like he was playing for stats. He's playing to get assists.
There were games where routine passes turned into a problem, and as his career went on, he bounced from team to team, hitting stops with the Grizzlies, Pistons, Bobcats, Warriors, and Sixers. When it was all said and done, Kwame finished his career averaging 6.6 points and 5.5 rebounds over 12 seasons. Those aren't terrible numbers for a role player, but here's the issue. He was never drafted to be a role player. He was drafted to be great, and when he didn't meet those massive expectations, the league slapped the bust label on him, and that label stuck hard. Sports shows used his name as shorthand for wasted potential. Analysts cracked jokes. Late-night TV turned him into a punchline. And every time a young player struggled, Kwame Brown's name got dragged back into the conversation again and again. So that bitterness people see in Kwame today didn't come out of nowhere. It was built over years of getting dragged publicly, starting when he was still a teenager, being labeled a disappointment that early sticks with you, and over time, that kind of criticism could harden into anger. That's why when you hear Kwame rant now or see him taking shots at players who actually lived up to massive expectations, you can trace exactly where that energy comes from. The frustration didn't disappear, it just changed form. But here's the line that matters. Having a rough career doesn't give anyone a free pass to go after others unprovoked.
I can make a real valid point of why this kid should never be in an NBA jersey. He doesn't know this because he never played this position. Somebody got to tell him, this ain't it.
Plenty of players struggled in the league, faced pressure, and dealt with criticism, and they didn't turn that pain into non-stop attacks on everyone who achieved what they couldn't. Once Kwame realized that his bitterness was pulling attention, things took an even stranger turn. He didn't just vent, he turned that energy into a full-on brand. Around 2021, out of nowhere, Kwame Brown started going viral. And it wasn't because fans rediscovered old Wizards highlights or found hidden gems from his playing days. He went viral because he started unloading on people, and the internet couldn't look away. These weren't calm breakdowns either, they were full-blown explosions. Anytime a big name said something he didn't like, Kwame would grab his phone, hit record, and go off. And for some reason, most of it came straight from the front seat of his car. That car turned into his personal press room, where nothing was filtered and nothing was held back. That 2021 moment changed everything for him after basketball. His channel took off because people weren't used to seeing a former NBA player talk like that. He wasn't polished. He wasn't careful. He didn't tiptoe around feelings. He was raw, unfiltered, and honestly chaotic. And the more unpredictable he became, the more people clicked. It turned into the perfect mix of shock value, emotion, and non-stop unpredictability. That's when Kwame figured out the formula. Go at bigger names, get more views. More views bring more relevance, and more relevance brings more money. Once he cracked that code, it didn't take long for him to lean all the way into it.
He calls me overrated from a car. At least I didn't have my jersey retired by the G League.
Every time Kwame went after someone who actually succeeded in the league, the numbers jumped fast. If he mentioned a superstar, it was instant traction. Bigger name, bigger reaction. Every single time. At that point, this wasn't just venting anymore, it was a full career pivot. He went from being a former NBA player who quietly moved on after retirement to a full-time online critic whose whole presence depended on saying the wildest things possible about the biggest players he could name. Once he saw the formula working, he locked in and never looked back. That became his new identity. Different arena, same spotlight chase. And just like that, his favorite target turned into LeBron James. Over the years, Kwame's YouTube uploads, Instagram clips, and random live streams built a running highlight reel of non-stop shots aimed at LeBron. One of his go-to lines was saying, "Nobody fears LeBron." He pushed that idea hard. According to Kwame, players weren't intimidated by LeBron's size, skill, or basketball IQ. That's wild when you're talking about someone who averaged around 27 points, 7 rebounds, and 7 assists across multiple seasons. And all of that was coming from a guy whose own NBA run barely cracked a dozen years. If that irony didn't hit yet, it got deeper. Kwame also jumped into analyst mode and labeled LeBron a stat patter like consistency and durability are somehow negatives. He said it with full confidence too, treating it like undeniable truth, filming from the passenger seat of his car sounding more like school gossip than serious breakdowns. But the real line he crossed was when he said LeBron shouldn't be mentioned with Kobe or Michael Jordan.
Gilbert Arenas is the worst thing for niggas. He act like he like black folks.
Now let's be clear. Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan are legends, two of the greatest players the NBA has ever seen, no debate needed. But that's not even the main point here. The point is this: Kwame Brown, a player who finished his career averaging 6.6 points and 5.5 rebounds over 12 seasons, somehow decided he was qualified to set the NBA's all-time hierarchy. He spoke like he was the final authority on greatness, and if you think that was enough, it wasn't. Kwame didn't stop with LeBron alone. Once he realized controversy brought clicks, he kept pushing further, aiming wider and testing limits, setting the stage for everything that was about to explode next. Oh no, that's when it went too far. Kwame dragged Bronny James into the mess, and at that point, it stopped being about basketball and turned personal fast. Lines got crossed. Kwame questioned Bronny's skill, mocked his development, and an audio clip even circulated where he said the kid can't play, and that set everything on fire. Meanwhile, LeBron has watched his son grind through pressure that would break most grown adults. We're talking injuries, serious health challenges, and the non-stop spotlight that comes with being LeBron James's son. That kind of weight isn't normal, and it's not something you just shake off. What makes it even crazier is the irony. Kwame lived inside the NBA pressure cooker himself. He knows better than almost anyone that talent alone doesn't guarantee success.
Ain't no in the NBA a bust. Compared to everybody else, they the best. Are there levels when you get to that level? Yes.
Every bucket, every rebound, every moment has to be earned. That's why going after a young player just to take shots at his father feels low. Not analysis, not basketball talk, just reaching for attention. And when you step back and look at the pattern, it becomes clear this was never about being objective. It looks way more like jealousy, insecurity, and a hunger to stay relevant at any cost. The same guy who never reached the heights expected of him now talks like the league's final authority. That contrast is impossible to ignore. And when you actually line up LeBron James' career next to Kwame Brown's, the difference isn't just big, it's uncomfortable. Let's talk facts. LeBron James is the all-time leading scorer in NBA history, passing legends like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Karl Malone along the way. He's a 4-time NBA champion, winning titles with Miami, Cleveland, and the Lakers. He's also a 4-time MVP, first earning it in 2009 and most recently in 2013. And then there's the longevity. Over 20 years of elite basketball, still producing at an unreal level late into his career. Add in 2 Olympic gold medals, endless playoff runs, and records that might not be touched for decades. He's done things no one else has, including reaching the NBA Finals more than 10 times. When you put all that on the table, it becomes clear why LeBron took this situation personally and why this time he wasn't willing to stay silent anymore. 3 different franchises.
Yeah, we just like, we'll give y'all Kwame Brown. You give us to sign Kobe Bryant's shoes. They said, hell no, that's too much. They said, how about this? We'll just give you.
Now let's put Kwame Brown right next to that and really look at it. Kwame averaged 6.6 points and 5.5 rebounds per game across a 12-year NBA career, bouncing between 8 teams and never truly locking down a home. At best, he was a role player. On some nights, maybe a fringe starter, but from day one, the bust label followed him everywhere. Kwame finished his career with no MVPs, no championships, no Olympic medals, no major awards, and no lasting impact on the culture of the game. Meanwhile, LeBron's highlights are studied, replayed, celebrated, and copied by an entire generation of players trying to follow his blueprint. Kwame's career isn't studied for greatness. It's studied as a cautionary tale, a warning about what happens when massive hype meets unfulfilled potential. And the stats are only part of the story. LeBron has dominated every part of basketball for 2 decades. Scoring, passing, rebounding, efficiency, leadership, clutch moments, all of it. Kwame, on the other hand, was fighting just to stay on the floor and hold a rotation spot. While LeBron was breaking records in his 20th season, Kwame's career quietly ended after 12 years. What was left behind wasn't a legendary resume, but a legacy most fans only remember through jokes and memes. So when Kwame tries to say LeBron isn't in the same conversation as Kobe or MJ, it's not just wrong, it's straight up embarrassing. It's like someone who never made it past the hype stage, trying to lecture experts on mastery.
Goddamn Gil, you in the slammer. You got there, if you run your mouth, see you facing about 15 years, 5 years on each charge, right?
The comparison doesn't hold up, and it never did. That's why LeBron's clapback wasn't just justified, it was inevitable. Kwame put himself in the line of fire, and when you stack their legacies side by side, the contrast is impossible to ignore. For years, Kwame talked from the passenger seat while LeBron kept stacking records, milestones, and wins. LeBron ignored the noise over and over again. He let commentators criticize him for years and never gave them the response they wanted. But when Kwame crossed into sacred territory by dismissing LeBron's place next to Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan, that was different. That wasn't a light jab. That was a direct strike at a legacy LeBron has spent over 20 years building. So LeBron finally responded. He stopped ignoring it, turned around, and fired back. And when he did, he made it clear he wasn't just defending himself, he was defending everything he's earned. LeBron came out and said, "This? Ouch!" That response hit instantly. It was sharp, it was funny, and it landed exactly where it was supposed to. Every word connected and reminded everyone of one simple truth. Kwame spent years failing to live up to expectations, and now he's trying to lecture someone who's still running the league. And if you think LeBron was Kwame's first or only target, think again. This wasn't a one-time blow-up. LeBron is just the biggest and most recent name in a long, messy pattern of beefs with people who clearly had way more success than him. Kwame's history of conflicts is deep and honestly exhausting to keep up with. Take Gilbert Arenas, for example. Back in the early 2000s, they were teammates on the Wizards, but somewhere along the way, Kwame flipped the script and started accusing Gilbert of sabotaging his career.
But more importantly, Kwame Brown is gone. The City of Angels, Hollywood, just should be celebrated. Throw a parade already, whether you win a championship or not. This man was a bona fide scrub. He can't play.
He went full conspiracy mode, claiming teammates, coaches, and even the league were working against him. He pushed the idea that Gilbert pretended to support people while secretly doing damage behind the scenes, framing himself as the victim in every version of the story. But Kwame didn't stop there. He tried to rewrite history altogether by arguing that no player is a bust, clearly defending himself while still complaining about being labeled one. That contradiction said everything. Gilbert Arenas didn't let that slide. He fired back hard, calling out the excuses and the revisionist storytelling. Most people would have taken the hint and moved on. Kwame didn't. Years later, he even celebrated Gilbert's legal troubles on social media, acting like someone who never let go of old grudges. Kicking someone while they're down is wild behavior. Then there's Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. roasted Kwame's career live on ESPN, and most players would have brushed it off or responded with performance on the court. Kwame went the opposite direction. He didn't just respond, he went nuclear. He challenged Stephen A. to a physical fight on camera. Let that sink in. That tells you everything you need to know. When criticism turns into threats instead of growth or accountability, It exposes the mindset behind it all. And that pattern, anger, blame, escalation, keeps showing up over and over again. That's his response to criticism as a player every single time. And don't forget, Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson from All the Smoke weren't spared either. Kwame went after them repeatedly, throwing shots that quickly crossed into personal territory way past basketball talk. He took digs at Barnes' family and even made content about Derek Fisher becoming the stepfather to Barnes' kids. That's how far he was willing to go. At that point, it had nothing to do with hoops and everything to do with provoking reactions. And that's the real pattern.
Hey, Stephen A., you bald forehead, people thinking you tough. Saying all kind of shit like, oh, then you come see me. Meet me in Seattle where you can have mutual combat and talk like that.
It's never about analysis. It's about poking people with bigger careers, bigger names, and bigger platforms just to spark chaos and pull attention. When you line everything up, it becomes obvious that LeBron just happens to be the latest and most high-profile target. That's also what makes Kwame predictable. There's no real principle behind the noise, no fresh insight, no deep breakdowns. It's the same playbook every time. Find someone more successful, attack them publicly, hit record, and hope the clicks flood in. So while some people label Kwame's commentary as brutally honest or unfiltered, the truth is way simpler. He's been doing this for decades. From teammates to analysts to media hosts to former players, and now LeBron James. The difference this time is LeBron has the numbers, the championships, and the global platform to put things in proper perspective. And that's exactly what happened. When you actually examine Kwame's claims, they fall apart fast. The moment facts enter the conversation, every argument collapses. Stats, context, and reality wipe them out one by one. Let's break it down. First up, the claim that nobody fears LeBron. That's probably Kwame's most repeated line, and it's honestly laughable. Every NBA team LeBron has ever faced built entire game plans around stopping him. Coaches doubled him in the post, trapped him off the ball, rotated defenses non-stop, all just to slow him down. Think about Miami's defensive schemes in 2011 or Golden State's switch-heavy system in 2016. Those strategies existed because of LeBron. And it's not just coaches. Players themselves have openly admitted the pressure, the stress, and the fear of going up against him. When the entire league adjusts just for you, that tells the real story loud and clear. Kendrick Perkins said it loud and clear, and that alone shuts down the whole nobody fears LeBron talk instantly.
Derek Fisher got your keys to your truck.
Saying LeBron isn't feared is pure nonsense. Every defense, every rotation, and every coach in this league has spent years game planning around stopping him. That's exactly why LeBron is still dropping around 27 points per game in his 20th season. You don't do that unless teams are still throwing everything they have at you. The respect is obvious. Next up is the tired claim that LeBron is overrated. Let's kill that myth fast. LeBron James is the all-time leading scorer in NBA history with over 38,000 points and counting. He's made 10 NBA Finals appearances, won 4 championships, and stayed elite for over 2 decades. He's dominated across different teams and completely different systems. Calling that overrated is like saying gravity is optional. You literally can't overrate someone who's been a top 5 player for 20 straight years. Then there's the stat pattern nonsense. Kwame keeps pushing that idea, but the numbers tell a totally different story. LeBron is one of the most efficient scorers the game has ever seen. He's a career 50% shooter from the field, owns a true shooting percentage north of 58%, and maintains an elite assist-to-turnover ratio. That's not chasing numbers, that's smart. Winning basketball. On top of that, LeBron has been a monster in clutch moments for nearly 2 decades. Multiple 40-plus point playoff games. Countless game winners. Season after season of showing up when it matters most. If that's stat padding, then it's stat padding at a Hall of Fame level. Kwame calling it that is peak comedy. And here's the real thing. Kwame's rants about LeBron aren't based on solid analysis, but they're also not random. They fit into a bigger system that rewards chaos, clicks, and controversy. Every time Kwame goes after a bigger name, his views spike instantly. Look at his YouTube numbers in 2021 when he went at Kevin Durant and LeBron in those infamous car rants. Videos hitting hundreds of thousands of views within hours. Likes, comments, shares exploding. Rage and outrage aren't accidents. They're the fuel for his platform.
It was a game 7, right? We just had lost game 6. And I ain't gonna lie, man. I was scared as hell going into that game 7 against LeBron James.
The formula is simple and it works. Controversy equals attention, and attention equals money. Platforms like YouTube, Instagram, X, and TikTok are built to push whatever gets the strongest reaction, and nothing travels faster than anger. The louder the rant, the more personal the attack, the harder the algorithm pushes it. That's bigger than basketball. It's a whole ecosystem where the angriest voice often wins, even when the facts don't back it up. But here's the twist that changed everything. LeBron breaking his silence flipped the entire game. When he responded with facts, humor, and undeniable dominance, it interrupted the cycle. Kwame thrives on one-sided shots, but once LeBron pushed back, the noise got exposed for exactly what it was. Suddenly, the audience could clearly see who actually had credibility. The stats, the rings, the longevity, the legacy, all of it spoke louder than any rant. And when that happens, the platform's reward system can't boost baseless talk the same way. By responding, LeBron didn't just defend his name. He disrupted the entire system that turns noise into relevance. He showed that facts still matter, performance still matters, legacy still matters. And that's the bigger picture here. This wasn't just a back and forth. It's a real example of how modern media rewards outrage over truth. Kwame is playing what pays, but LeBron's response proves that substance can still cut through the chaos. In a world chasing clicks, credibility still hits harder. And that's a lesson everyone watching this should take with them. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, share it with your friends, and comment what you think about this whole situation. I'll catch you on the next one.